this year for bigger containers. I've got bigger trees and I just don't have the containers to put them in. So I'm gonna try to get these two guys right here. I really think it's a good idea for me to be just concentrating on getting containers for a while. It's a good 15 inches long, about 11. This might be about a foot. I mean, this is honker and, you know, just a little cherry on top. I don't know what that meant. Oh, I've got some very tiny things I've been waiting for some great little containers for. Sweet. That's right, we're with Evan from Underhill Bonsai.
How's it going?
How are you doing?
Very, very well.
Excellent. You have a wonderful table. It was much fuller a couple days ago.
Yeah.
But he still has a lot of cool stuff up. What do you have that's just really amazing that people should buy right now?
As far as the Louisiana native stuff that I deal with a lot, which is kind of what I do, is the bald cypresses are going to be kind of my big selling point. You know, a lot of people like bald cypress. It's been popular since the early 70s and 80s, and so we have a lot of Yamadori and then field-grown bald cypresses. So some of this stuff here, like this guy here, was collected at one point, and so old trees like this that have had that chop healed and completely rolled over. We have a couple of trees like that at the nursery are very valuable because you don't want a big hole in your tree to rot through to the base. So that makes the value of the tree.
That wound is completely healed over and barking.
Oh yeah, it's getting old bark on there. It makes it really, really an exceptional piece to start with for some good bonsai. And you really can't beat the American hornbeam. So American hornbeam has a nice, very delicate looking leaf. It's deep veined, so you have that nice kind of bumpiness and nice serration to the edges there. It makes it look very delicate. But this tree was collected as well. This is a Yamadori that was collected along the Chifuncta River down in Covington, Louisiana. Large portion of the trunk died back, And then I had one branch poke out the side and became my live vein that kind of goes on the backside here, around this the backside of this dead root. And so I propped up the dead roots and carved them slightly, just to give it some more interest and made it a feature. And then this just readily just grew. Once these guys get really nice strong roots on them, they make a great bonsai. And in fact, Mr. Greg over here, if you want to feature another American hornbeam.
Of course.
Greg LeBlanc, yep.
My man.
It's another Louisiana man.
Okay.
But he's got a great American hornbeam raft right here. It's a good example of the species as well.
Brandon's a big fan of rafts. Or very well sometimes. This is great.
Oh yeah. Another thing to note of them is they're kind of like a beech family type tree. They call them blue beech as well. So they have a growth habit similar to beech, where those branches will come down and kind of grow out loftily.
Okay.
And like this
Kind of
pattern.
swoop up a bit.
So that tree over there does it as well. You can see the dropping branches on that tree. They'll
Yeah.
come down and they sweep underneath, and that's doing it on its own like that. That's its growth habit. So if you clean this bark up really nice, and you just don't really top water it, you only do the soil, you'll have this almost stark white looking kind of bark to it, and it's very lovely.
Wow.
And then another one, I wish I had a better hawthorn. I usually prefer to use parsley hawthorn, which literally has a parsley shaped like leaf, but this is the green hawthorn. So this is Cartegus rigius. So this guy has really long kind of vicious thorns. Sometimes they get long enough to go through your hand all the way. But I chose to go with a clump style on this tree. Kind of a grayish bark on it. And they're pretty popular for bonsai in other parts of the country. And I believe there could be a lot more potential in these trees because they flower and they fruit. And people know them in Southern culture as a tree that you make jams and preservatives out of their berries.
Hawthorn berries?
Yep, definitely. These are Japanese black pine.
Oh,
and so these two guys are good little examples of just some shohin that I developed. This guy's in very early refinement, so his sacrifice was just chopped off. He's got a little bit of needle cast that's been fixed from, we spray with just a copper that kind of fights us back a little bit. It's so humid in Louisiana that we need to treat for funguses on the regular, but the needles on these guys that are coming out of their fresh candles will combat that pretty quickly because they're so strong. But at the nursery, I grow a couple hundred of these at a time as I can, and I'll take them while they're really young and they're about roughly the size of I would say, if you want to think of like a takeout chopstick.
Yeah.
And then I wrap them and wire them pretty young, and I get that movement that you see in this tree at a young age. So if you look at some of the guys on the ground here, there's some really nice dramatic curves that you can get on these trees that, when they're small, and you can set that angle and all those different curves in there, and then continue it through the rest of the tree.
You want to do it real low too, right?
You want to do it at the base, at the baseline of the soil, so that as it progresses and it gets bigger, even if this becomes a 20-year project, and you grow that trunk up to like 4 to 6 inches, you'll still have that really lovely curve.
Yeah.
There's a Japanese black pine in the show that was definitely grown in that fashion. You can see it out there. It was curved really early in its life, and then when it got thicker, it just maintains that curve. Which means that's what trees do. When they grow up, they don't just push up and get longer. I mean that just gets bigger, and that's really what that's about with the young stock.
These needles are pretty long too. It'll take some time before you.
And these are individuals, so these are all grown from seed. So
Really?
some of them will have shorter needles, some will have longer. But these are Japanese black pine. They reduce very easily from when you get them into refinement and they're not pumping really hard like this. You can get them down to a stage where you start decandling and you start building back, and you got more and more readily available buds, and then you'll get a shorter and shorter and shorter needle as time goes on.
Wow.
So yeah, you can get them pretty small.
It's a species I haven't really dived in too much yet. It's really interesting.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are kind of scared of them because they think pine trees, because they have really particular water requirements. They have really particular fertilizer requirements, and then repotting them is kind of intimidating because you can't bare root them. You can't really do that much crazy root work on them. So setting them up when they're younger is very important. So like when these guys are grown from seed, I always make sure to put them in quality bonsai soil, so that when the next person goes on to develop this tree further, that repot's easier, and they can put it into the pot they want and develop a fine tree without ever having to mess with the roots that much. And that kind of takes care of that. But yeah, I do a lot of talking about these trees. And I will admit that I've learned a lot of stuff from reading like Jonas Dupuy's blogs and talking to him about pine development. So.
Jonas Dupuy.
Yep. If anybody knows of Jonas Dupuy,
look right here. Got a link for it right here.
Yep.
This is the name.
When you listen a little bit to another master, you know, like you pick up on stuff and it works. So this is our bald cypress. This is our American bald cypress, and I've chosen to go with a flat top. It's a little hairier, so it's hard to see the design, but maybe I can send you a picture of early development of this. It's on my Instagram. But the idea is to really show the story of bald cypresses when they live in Louisiana swamps and the effects of storm damage and coastal erosion and what they do to struggle to survive in adverse environments, and always being in water and being surrounded by other trees that are trying to outcompete them. So we have lower branches that are broken off and shattered. We have branches that are barely surviving that are slowly getting shaded out by other trees. You have hollows in the tree where old portions of the tree fell away, which I'll do more carving there to open that back up. And we get to the top. The top is your dominant part of the tree, so it wants to be a big solar panel and get as much light as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, the flat top was actually this design was pretty much pioneered by the late Von Banting, who was actually Von Banting. He was the pioneer of the design, and he started the Greater New Orleans Bonsai Society. He started the Greater New Orleans Bonsai Society back in the early 80s. I think even in his early 70s. I wasn't around then, so I wouldn't know any better, but very historical figure in early bonsai. Went on to teach Guy Guidry, and they also hung out with John Naka a good bit. So I took this design kind of based off of his old drawings and old trees that you can see in the National Arboretum. But yeah, this is kind of like our version of folk art in American bonsai for Louisiana. Yeah, kind of how they see them. If you see old images, paintings of bald cypresses, you kind of see them always painted like these big flat tops, very dramatic. So you can do that and just paint the image.
See how big
bonsai.
this is. I mean, it provides its shade for me.
Oh yeah.
I can read a book under this, dude. This is an elm, Chinese elm. Look at how small those friggin' leaves are. Evan, thanks for showing us around, man.
Yeah, dude, definitely.
This stuff's wonderful. Don't forget to check out Evan Perdue on all the stuff in the link below. Don't forget to check out his stuff in the link below.
Yeah, dude. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you.
It's been an excellent show.
Yeah, and show us a couple of your favorite trees over there a little later.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Excellent. My man. How's it pronounced? Suiseki. They're so cool.
Natural rock art.
Do you shave the bottom of them too? Sometimes?
Some more. The little piece we cut the bottom, or it's you can't find a natural rock.
Wow.
No cutting. Yeah.
Then you custom build a stand for it.
Yeah.